Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? All right, y'all. Today we have back on the podcast Emilie Blanchard. She is the owner of Tastiest Fit in Columbia, South Carolina. It's a healthy grab and go storefront for your healthy meals and snacks. And she was on episode 20 of the podcast. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, definitely go back, give it a listen. You'll get a lot more of her background, how she started, her love of healthy living. So today we're going to kind of dive right into it, but I do want to just give you a moment, Emilie, for like a brief intro for people who maybe didn't listen to that episode yet. Can you give us a quick fill in, a little bit about you and Tastiest Fit? And then we're going to spend today diving in a little bit to healthy pregnancy.
Yay. Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me back. So what episode is this? So that was 20.
That was 20. This will be 39.
Wow, that's amazing. Congrats to you. Yes.
Thank you.
I don't even, was I pregnant when I did it last?
Yes, I think you were in maybe your first trimester.
Okay. Yes,
yeah.
that would make sense. Yes. No. So I'm 8 months pregnant now. So that's, that's a great place to start. I have 2 kids. I have a girl that's 4 and a little boy that just turned 3. And then one on the way. So we are pure chaos over here, but it is such a fun chapter. But yeah, that kind of, that episode definitely probably will give you a lengthier version of exactly who I am. But just in sum, I live in Columbia, South Carolina, and I own a plant-based, gluten-free grab-and-go storefront called Tastiest Fit, where I create all the recipes, test them in my home, and then we transition them into our grab-and-go fridge. We have soups, wraps, smoothies, acai bowls. We have a vegan soft serve, all the desserts you could imagine. And yeah, I started this venture in 2017 after I left New York and got married, came back to Columbia, which is where I was born. And it just kind of took off. It was a meal. I started cooking for one mom, and then one thing led to another, and here we are.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for giving that little recap. And seriously, anyone listening, definitely go back and listen to that episode because she dives all into it. But for the sake of people who have been listening every week, we're going to dive into a new topic today. So as you alluded to, you've got 2 littles at home and a third one on the way. And so we haven't really dug into this topic yet on the Health by Haven podcast. I am not pregnant, nor have I ever been, but I am of the age where a lot of my friends are starting to have babies. And I know a lot of the audience listening either has babies or little kids. And so I thought it would be a great topic to cover because I know that you've been so intentional about trying to stay healthy and in your healthier habits throughout your pregnancy. So first of all, has this one felt different than the other 2?
Well, yes, third baby definitely feels different, but I think more than anything, I think in a few different ways. I think there's a lot of like pluses to it being your third time. And then also really the hardest part is just having 2 other little kids to take care of when you're just really in the first trimester. And then now kind of toward the end when you're just absolutely, exhausted. But that really was why I wanted to make this pregnancy just, staying as wholesome as I could with food and also just taking care of myself, which, you're never perfect, especially with 2 little kids and working and being a wife and all the things. It's never easy, but I did try really hard this go around and it has benefited me for sure. But, the hardest part about this one is just the tired. But you know what you're getting yourself into third time. First time, it's all new.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I cannot imagine. I'm like barely keeping myself alive over here. I'm trying to have.
Well, I know it's another gear you kick into, but
Yeah.
it's obviously all worth it in the end. It's just a short stint you have to get through.
Yes. Okay. So I think it might be helpful maybe for people, especially who are maybe first time moms or thinking
Yeah,
about trying to have a baby, walking through maybe each trimester, because I know that they can be so different from things I've heard of
yeah,
my friends, especially the first one. What's it felt like? Energy levels, food
yeah.
cravings, movement, all of that.
Yeah, and it's so different for everyone. There is nothing that I could say that could be a completely different experience for one person to the next. That's just pregnancy, and it's just so individualistic to your body and what you're having and your hormone levels and all of the things. There's so much that goes into it, but I would say generally, first trimester is rough in the sense now some people are throwing up, some people are just nauseous, some people are just exhausted, but for the most part you just don't feel great no matter what's like into the spectrum you fall on. So for first trimester I always am like, you just got to give yourself grace. I mean, a lot of people can't keep food down. I didn't really have that. I was a little nauseous and just wanted, I certainly craved a lot more like fruit and less smoothies, more like wholesome fruit, watery fruit, pineapple, watermelon, which is something that a lot of pregnant people crave because you're dehydrated. So it's just, you just want hydration. And then I craved a lot of like avocado toast, just really satiating food. But some people like can't eat their whole first trimester, or just all they want to do is, someone texted me the other day and was just saying how they can only keep down like one smoothie at our store, and that's truly all they can eat. So they just, it is just such an interesting ride because you're just having to relearn how to listen to your body, and it changes every day. And so, yeah, first trimester, it's just completely individualistic. But for me, I was so tired. Like I am not a napper, but this pregnancy, like every day at 3, I would just get hit. Like I just couldn't keep my eyes open. It was so funny.
Oh,
So I would try to listen to that, but with 2 kids around, it was tricky.
yeah.
My husband was super helpful. As you move into your second trimester, so like first trimester, it's just survival. You give yourself grace. If all you can eat is bread, that's all you can eat. I mean, it's just, I worry less than as long as you're taking prenatals and you're hydrating and, you're trying not to survive off like packaged food, then I
Yeah.
think, you do the best you can do. It just really is survival. And then the second trimester, for me anyway, I always feel great. I always have like a surge of energy. I get all my taste buds back in terms of like my aversions typically go away. I can eat very normal. Um, I try a little more when I'm pregnant to just be more on top of it in terms of like having something to grab in the fridge. So I'm lucky I can run to my store, but
Yeah.
like I think I've posted about this a good bit, but I started juicing ginger and turmeric because it just started to get towards the winter and cold season, and that has been a huge saving grace for me because I, knock on wood, I do think it's helped me a ton. I've had it like every morning, warm lemon, just incredibly hydrating and, getting all those antioxidants in before you drink coffee. I do drink coffee pregnant. Some people do not. I just, try to have 2 cups, and I don't ever, I don't even, not pregnant. I don't even drink it in the afternoon, but I never had an aversion to it in pregnancy, but a lot of people do, which is with 2 toddlers, I need a little caffeine.
Yeah.
And and then like taking throughout the day, I'll usually do whether it's like a granola bowl with a lot of fruit, or I'll do a smoothie, or I went through a phase of, like I said, like avocado toast with boiled eggs. I did try to prioritize protein a good bit this pregnancy, just having 2 kids and, being a little older than when I was 27 or 28. I did try to prioritize health. So second trimester honestly felt great. And then as you move into the third trimester, beginning, you're great. It's just towards the end, like right now, like when you're 32 weeks, kind of anything goes at this point. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They come 3 or 4 weeks early. You just have no clue. So it's just about mentally, I think, getting in a really good space, trying to rest as much as possible. And then movement has been really big for me this pregnancy. I've tried to stay as strong as possible through my core and through really just everything mentally, physically, and tried to really prioritize that because you want to keep everything in alignment as much as possible. Um, See a chiropractor and acupuncturist and things like that. have really just been great for me. But yeah, so I'm middle of the ground, third trimester right now. I've got about 7 weeks to go if I go to 40 weeks. So it's just
Yeah.
now we're just here. Now we're just, trying to get all the last minute things done and stay on top of my nutrition and movement. It's a lot different than when, you're in your first trimester, but any movement I always say is great.
Yes. I'm sure it's equally as exciting and stressful at the same time, knowing it's coming to an end.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's funny because you have so long you almost have a year of being pregnant, and then it's just this like fictitious thing until it's not. And then,
Yeah.
you forget that postpartum isn't easy either. So it's just moving from one challenging thing to the next. But, I do think that you're pregnant for that long for a reason. It does take a long time just to wrap your head around it and get everything done, have your body prepped, your mind prepped. I mean, there is just so much, that goes into it. So I am grateful for the 10 months, but then once the end is up, I'm like, okay, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, we're ready for the next thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and I'm so glad you brought postpartum because I do want to make sure we talk about that as well. But I love that you really broke down those three differences and like I think it's probably helpful for people to hear like first trimester is just about survival and like
It
do what you
is.
can, even from somebody like I know so many people look up to you as far as like how to nourish your body with like
Yeah.
whole and supportive foods. And so hearing like do what you have to do, hopefully is like giving people so much permission to just
Oh my
like
gosh, I
breathe.
hope so. You really, and you cannot stress about it. I mean, I have so many friends who just couldn't keep anything down. And so at that point, you just stay hydrated and get something in your body, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Um, it's temporary, but some people just have it harder than others. And it becomes a mental game at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and share, I know I've seen on your Instagram, but share for people who haven't seen your ginger turmeric
Yes. Yes.
combination.
Yeah. Like with winter months, I'm pretty in tune with like what my body needs. And it was funny. It was like post or maybe Thanksgiving, Christmas, like that time when you're just drained.
Mhm.
Especially when you have kids. I mean, you'll see one day it's just a whole other level of drained because there's so many school things. There's so many like activities. There's so many things to do, and it's all so much fun. But I mean, it is draining by the time you actually even get to the holiday. So when you're running on like little to no sleep, and you're pregnant, and you have two kids who are at school every day and coming home, and then there's just a lot could happen.
Mhm.
So I used to do this all the time, but I picked it back up. So I basically just juice in a juicer like a turmeric root and ginger root, and I go ahead and batch make it. So I'll do like a lot, and you really
Mhm.
can't mess it up. I mean, I have a recipe on my website, but you can't. I mean, you could use any amount you need. You do need a good bit to even make the juice, which is the funny thing about juicing. A lot goes
Mhm.
a little, but I add filtered water to it and a lot of lemon juice, probably like 2 lemons per batch that I make, and I drink that throughout the whole week in the mornings. And it has just been, I drink it cold, I drink it warm, doesn't matter. Um, but it has definitely hit the spot in terms of just fighting off things, keeping your immune system strong, and also hydrating yourself in the morning is just something people miss so
Yeah.
much because we're busy and people just want to chug coffee, which I get. You're tired. Like it's just the first thing that, it's how the society operates. So I think if anything, it serves you there. And then on the other side, it helps with, just any anti-inflammatory markers.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, anyone listening, whether or not they're pregnant, I think could use that and try out that
Yeah.
recipe. It sounds
Yeah, it's great. If you
amazing.
don't
And
have a juicer, you could always boil it. I used to do that. I used to peel, chop, and boil a ton of ginger and turmeric, and then I just strain it. And I mean, it's wonderful in juicing to maintain all the nutrients, but if you can't, it's no big deal. Just boil it and then strain it.
yes, of course. Okay. And then I know you talked about movement as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe your favorite forms of movement throughout
Yeah.
this pregnancy? Have they been different throughout the months? Have they been different than your other two children?
Well, yes, my other two children, because I had Harper, my first smack dab in the middle of COVID. So like nothing was open. So I remember
Oh,
doing a lot of classes online and like I walked. So my sister and I were joking about that the other day because I'd always make her go with me. I mean, we would walk so much just because I had to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Um, and then we would do like online classes and things. So that wasn't my norm, but
Yeah.
that was in my first pregnancy because everything was shut down. And then with my second, that's really when I started to pick up weightlifting a little bit more consistently, um, and stuck with that throughout the whole pregnancy. And I did a lot of what I'm doing now, megaformer, things like that, cardio with walking. I always stopped running probably about 4 or 5 months in. It just never felt great to me, but some people can run their whole time. It just completely depends on the person. Um, but with this pregnancy, I would say I've probably worked out the most during this pregnancy. Again, a lot of it's for mental reasons of just, taking an hour for myself with two little kids is just so important. And it just helps me mentally so much. But then also on the physical standpoint, you're never going to regret staying in great shape, whatever that
Mhm.
looks like for you for your entire pregnancy. And staying strong is something that's just so underrated. I think a lot of people do kind of, because you're just, you're unsure of what movements you can and can't do. So a lot of people, and you don't feel the best in the beginning. So it's easy to fall off. But I just think maintaining muscle during pregnancy is such an incredible thing for labor and then also for postpartum recovery. So that's just what I've been focused on. So just to take you through my week, I think, let's see, Mondays, I typically do a megaformer workout, which is a Legree studio here, which I don't know if everyone's familiar, but for the most part, it's basically like resistance on a reformer, but it's not, it's a moving machine. So it's a little different than a reformer. It's very hard, but very good. And for your like slow twitch muscle fibers, a lot of stability, a lot of core. So that's been great. Tuesdays, I typically weight lift. Wednesdays, I typically do some sort of like walk, some sort of cardio. And then Thursdays, I do the megaformer, and Fridays, I do a weightlifting with a trainer. And then I usually take the weekend just to do whatever. So I'm pretty religious about things like that. But I've seen such a huge difference this pregnancy and just staying strong that I'm hoping it. I'll let you know. Hopefully, it serves you well after this baby is here.
Well, that's amazing. And I think that that can be some encouragement to people who, especially if it's their first pregnancy and they're like, I don't really know like what I can do.
Yeah,
Obviously, they need to talk to their doctors, but I think it's
totally.
great that you mix in different forms of movement
Yeah,
as
it
well.
is. One's like a very stretching stability workout, and the other one is very much weight lifting, and staying, and keeping your muscle up. So they've been the perfect medicine for me. And now we're starting to modify a lot more than we would in, when I'm 18 weeks. So it does, and it is. I will say I'm very blessed to be able to have a trainer in the gym, which I highly recommend. Even if you have, go for a few times with a trainer and then have them write out a few workouts that are safe. I think a lot of it is knowledge for people, and there's so much on the internet you can find too. But that has been incredibly helpful. It's just having someone kind of guide me throughout the whole process.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I love a group fitness class over
Yeah.
like going to the gym is you have somebody who's helping you make sure you're safe and
Right.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. You've alluded to the chaos of two little kids running
Yes.
around, and clearly you're very busy as a business owner as well. So, what has I hate like work-life balance because I
I
feel like it
know.
ebbs and
There's
flows
not
and
one.
there's really no such thing. But what has
No,
that
there's
looked like for you in the last few months, and how do you anticipate that, post baby when you have a little tiny infant at
yeah.
home?
Yeah. I was in conversation with someone. It's looked so different throughout where I was doing a lot from home. I just went straight back to work. It was just at a time when my business was growing. And I didn't really have the choice, but I also loved it. So I wanted to get back to it. I think every first mom probably goes through that because you're just on average in a place of growth probably in your career if you're a working mom. So that looked a lot different with Bo. I had him so soon after. I took a little bit of a maternity leave because I also had a toddler at home. So
Hmm.
very much so a toddler. She was like 14 months when I had him. So that
Yeah.
was just a whirlwind. And we had so much going on. And my team was so incredible during that time. But I still went back to work. I don't know. I would work from home probably 4 weeks after. This time around, I'm just in such a different place. in my life and chapter of my career that I've been able, I feel so blessed about this too. I really do. Having started when I started, I was 27. And so by now I have a wonderful team. I am able to work from home so much. I mean, my kids, I mean, they call my store like the grocery store. They don't even know I really work because I'm just there. I'm able to be there I go pick them up at school, at 2:30. I'm typically done with everything. I kind of cram it all into the morning after they go to school. So yeah, it's a different balance and it definitely shifts more toward mom than anything for me right now. It's things I'm not willing to sacrifice as this time of their life. There's going to be a time when they're older and they don't need me as much. And then that can maybe shift. But right now it's just very much mom. And then second, I operate and run a business that I love. And I'm grateful to be able to do a lot of the testing and from home and stuff like that. So it's a great, great job and career path for that.
Yeah. And that's a great way to look at it, like over the years balance versus like every single day balance,
Yeah,
because I think it's so unattainable to be like, this is the exact hours I work, and I never think about work when I'm not at work, and I never
oh,
think about home
no.
when I'm not at home,
Right. No. Let me tell you, if I'm not at home for whatever reason, I'm thinking about my kids, and if you need to be at work, but you're at home with your sick child, you're feeling bad, you're not there for your team. So there's no perfect balance. I think really it just comes with like priorities and you just knowing that you're sacrificing for your priorities, no matter which way that swings for you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you brought up postpartum, and I'm so glad you did because I want to mention that as well. Because I think a lot of society thinks like, oh, once you
Yeah.
have your baby, like everything's back to normal. So
No,
talk to us about
that's
what
the hard
that
part to
has
start.
been.
Postpartum is hard. I mean, that's just the only word for it. It is beautiful in so many ways, but it is so hard, especially the first time around because you just have zero clue what to expect. But then with every pregnancy, it does get harder because you've done it that many more times
Yeah.
um, in terms of physically, and you have kids to take care of. But if there is a chapter to put the word grace toward, it is postpartum, and it is like just, you can't tell anyone this is something that just has to click, but it is knowing that there is no such thing as a bounce back. Like someone told me that and I was like, that is so true. Like there is absolutely no going back to what you were before because your life has changed in so many ways. And I don't mean just physically. I just mean there's no going back. So it's like finding a new version of yourself and giving yourself time. I was reading that it takes like 2 years for your hormones to even go back to
Wow.
stable if you don't, if you're not pregnant again. So that's a long time. And
Yeah.
then to be able to find a routine, it takes a year. And then to be able to, get back to a great workout routine or what you were doing prior, that just completely depends on breastfeeding and like all of these things that cut into your day because you're feeding every few hours. It's just there's so much that goes into it. Just the healing process. I mean, that takes 5 months. So postpartum is one of those mental games where it is day by day, and you just have to find yourself in the best mental place, which also can take a huge toll postpartum, which that's when you need to bring in your village, reach out for help. If there's, if that is something that happens to you, and it can happen to anyone, it is just a day by day thing. And, you're going to have days where you're elated and some days you're just sobbing on the floor. And that's just the reality of it. But I always like to tell people just your head will be above water. It is everything in postpartum everything in having babies is so temporary, but it feels so permanent when you're sleep deprived and not feeling like yourself, not looking like yourself, not able to do the things that you need to do, quote unquote. So it's a day by day journey. And it's different for everyone, but I do think if there's a time to give yourself grace and knowing that it's that time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for like sharing that so candidly because I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of
so
people
I'm
don't
all about
talk
sharing
about
about
it.
that because it is hard. It is so hard, and especially if you've never gone through it before, you're just kind of like it hits you.
Yeah. Anything else that has helped support you in that time besides, like you said, leaning on people in your
Yeah.
support system?
I think finding and this is really difficult, but just finding the tiny things that make you happy. Lemon water in the morning, which you're not going to be able to do every morning because you might have a screaming baby. It might be 3 p.m. before you get that. But just the tiny things like ice rolling your face, things that make you feel like you, if you can find the teeny tiny pockets of it, maybe 2 minutes of it, that always really helped me. And then, yeah, your family, people who can bring and help with food, like prepping, having people help prep healthy food so you do feel great, or whether you're prepping that before you have the baby and like freezing it. Just like tiny things like that truly do go a long way. Once you are able to walk, going outside, feeling sunshine, I mean, that's like a game changer, I think, for anybody,
Yeah.
depending on what time of year you have your baby. But all of those tiny things, they do add up and they do matter. And it's just not like completely losing yourself in that stage.
Great advice. So I know that you actually put this on your Instagram the other day, and I was like, wow, this is perfect timing for an episode because you said people have been asking you about some of the like cleaner products that you've been using for like skincare, wellness things. So can you maybe
Yeah.
like chat through some of your favorites?
Yeah. Okay, let me just take you through my routine. I do ice roll with like this organic castor oil on my face, which I love. It just, for me, it works. It is like super dewy and helps depuff. I love an ice roller in the morning. Or like if I'm so swollen, we are like dipping our face in an ice bucket, and that's free. And that is like, I think it's like a cold plunge for your face. It's an incredible benefit. So that's something that anyone can do. But for like skin products, I've been using, I'm trying to think exact names and I could find them. There's this brand, I think it's on Amazon even, Altitude. It's like an EWG verified brand. I will use their body wash and their lotion, and they have like a belly butter that I've been using. And I can send you links.
Yeah.
EWG is this whole organization. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it basically will rate products of like
Mm-hmm.
toxicness to, 1 to 10. And when something's EWG verified, that means like nothing's toxic in it. So I tried to look for that in terms of, like things I'll be using every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I do use that. And then Skin and Senses is a brand that I love. You can get the non-fragrance, like
Yes.
belly butters, oils. They have a
Mm-hmm.
whole like mom line, which I love. Um, and then skincare, I use a few different brands. Joanna Check, I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Mm-mm.
She actually came and did like this whole thing in Columbia. She's based out of LA, in New York, but a store here sells her.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley Clark owns it, and she got me on it. And it's all pregnancy safe. And it's like her vitamin C. It's just all really elevated. It's definitely pricier skincare. I was using that prior and was happy to be able to use it during.
Yeah.
I use like her vitamin C and her balm, which is like this super healing moisturizer. Um, and then I use a company out of Charleston, DeBose. I use her Redo Serum, it's supposed to be like help you, if you're someone that gets Botox or someone who doesn't want to get Botox, it's supposed to lengthen your time between treatments and just really help with fine lines and wrinkles. I've used that the whole time. I don't know if it was developed for moms, but it's something that they promote so much for pregnancy,
Yeah.
when you can't do anything
Yeah.
else. So I used her Redo serum, and then the Barefaced is a brand that I've used and love, Jordan Harper so much and everything she's accomplished. I used their Overachiever serum and lotion, and yeah, that's pretty much all the skincare. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's like a 4 or 5 step morning and night. And then yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Covered lotions and makeup. I use Ilia and Merit a good bit. There's still a few things that I'm trying to think of like eyeshadows and things that I have. It's to me, I'm like talk about balance. That's where I'm just like
Yeah.
what it is. But for foundation, tinted moisturizers, things I would put on every day. Ilia has an amazing one, and yeah. Is that it on the products? Have
Yeah,
I
I
missed
think so.
any?
I'm trying to think of what else people might ask about. What about like shampoos, conditioners, hair care products?
Yeah, Divi. Have you ever heard of Divi?
No.
It is an influencer's brand that she struggled a lot with hair loss and
Hmm.
postpartum, actually. And she came up with a company, that's completely non-toxic. And I use their dry shampoo too.
Yeah.
And she basically created this entire line for a lot more so for people struggling with hair loss, but it's been an incredible But I love the shampoo and conditioner, and I think they have like maybe one or two. So that's kind of, when you do wash your hair, I wash mine once a week. So I didn't stress that too much, but I did happen to love hers. So that was great.
Yeah. And these are also like great products I'm sure people can
They
use
are. I used them.
regardless.
I did. I used it before. So yeah,
Yeah.
anything that I can use during, before, after is, sign me up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And then this is another question I have because I feel like I've seen it all over my Instagram now because for a while it was like I saw everybody mouth taping. Now I feel see everybody face
Oh,
taping. So
I
tell people
know.
about this.
Okay. So I do not mouth tape
Yeah.
because I just think that's would be overboard if I had face tape on my face and my mouth. But people swear by it. I'm pretty sure I'm a nose breather, but you never know. I'll
Yeah.
never say never. Um, But yeah, so face taping is something that I was probably started seeing a lot more of like at the very beginning of this pregnancy. And I'm just all for being a guinea pig. I'm like, sure, why not? I'm testing it on myself. I'm not hurting anyone.
Right.
And there is this girl on Instagram called the Natural Face Bible. And that's her account. Her name is Olga. And that's like all she does. And so anyway, I started following her, and she has this like specific take from like Japan. And because there's a lot of brands out there, I won't say any names, but like they're not using good quality tape, and I've heard terrible things about.
Mm.
But there's so much to it. There are probably like thousands of years of studies on, or not studies, but people trying certain things like this. Like it's been around for a while apparently, and there's no probably perfecting it. But for me, I really just tape my forehead with this one specific tape, and I saw and have seen such a difference in terms of like, you know, just like whether you're like again trying to stretch your Botox out for you're getting it once a year, or you don't want to get it at all, like all these tiny little things, ice rolling, facial massage, gua sha, face taping, all of that are amazing things you can do to keep like the fine lines from sinking in. But I've loved it, and you can post this girl's account because she's like the holy grail of face taping.
Good to know for people who are interested.
Yes, yes, and it really has. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I have no affiliation with anything. It has helped me a ton.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, and then other things that you've been doing throughout the pregnancy to support, like I know you mentioned a chiropractor. Are you
Yeah.
doing anything else like that?
A chiropractor, acupuncturist, which I
Mhm.
haven't been like super consistent with, but I do really believe in that for just helping keep everything really, if you have an amazing chiropractor, and that's, I want to stress that, have someone you trust and, understands the body, especially women in pregnancy. I happen to have one here that I trust immensely. She worked on my kids as babies. So I'll go to her, things like that. But other than that, just my movement, my working out has been something that has probably been the most methodical thing. But weaving other things in like that, I massages again from someone you completely trust, who
Mhm.
knows how to do it in pregnancy. That has been something that I weave in and out, but it's definitely not like a weekly occurrence. But I love it, and if you have someone you trust, I think it's a great thing to add in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all the little things that you can do here and there. Of course, it
Yeah,
could seem overwhelming if you're like trying to do everything every single week, but I'm sure those are all things that help feel supportive.
yeah, it really does. And just like again, it's like all about just carving out time for yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I feel like this whole episode, you've been giving people words of encouragement, but I want to kind of like try to tie a
Oh,
bow
good.
on everything. If somebody is pregnant, thinking about getting pregnant, postpartum, and they are like in the thick of it, what
Yeah.
kind of words of encouragement would you give them?
If they're in the thick of pregnancy or
Yeah,
postpartum.
maybe
I mean,
maybe both.
okay. If we're in the thick of pregnancy in the beginning, I think the only thing, kind of like what I said, is grace is going to be your best friend, knowing that it's temporary. And that's probably my words of encouragement for postpartum too. Everything is temporary, nothing is permanent. That is something you have to tell yourself over and over and over again. The sleepless nights, I had a colicky baby. It was so, so challenging. I just remember being like, well, I guess this is my life. A baby cries, maybe 20 out of the 24 hours of the day. And that's really, really hard and starts to get to you mentally. But it is temporary, and they just blossom to these both human beings and, every age of a mom. I think once you become a mom, you realize, oh, there's so many stages. There's so many things in every chapter that's challenging. But I mean, good Lord, the joy outweighs it all immensely. But yeah, having a village, if it is your first time, if you have friends who've had kids, or, reach out to start doing therapy, anything that you can do to, calm your mind and nervous system in that time, I think is a huge plus. Getting back to your workouts when you're approved, or whether it's even walking outside. I think movement is one of the biggest things for endorphins, and that can help so much when you're cleared.
Amazing. Okay. I have some rapid fire and made them different since we've already gone through the first rapid fires in your first episode. And then I'll let you go.
Okay. Let's
All right. Almond butter or peanut butter?
Oh my gosh, this is so hard because I talk about phases. I go through phases. I think I'm on peanut butter now, though. But in the beginning,
also go through phases.
I was on almond butter, and now I'm like, no, I just want peanut butter. So
yeah.
I'll say peanut butter.
Okay. Salsa or guac?
Oh, guac.
Pesto or tomato sauce?
Oh, God. Probably tomato sauce unless I'm making it, because pesto typically has some cheese and stuff that I can't have.
Yeah.
Or I can have, but I don't,
It's fair.
I mean. Yeah.
TV or movie?
Oh God, these are really good. Probably TV. But like if I have a really good show that I'm watching, we just started watching Landman, and it's really good.
Oh, I have not heard of this. I'll have to look it up.
And I can't sit for that long. Like movies are hard for me to sit through.
Yeah.
So probably a show.
Okay. Board games or card games?
Card games.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Biking or swimming?
These are hard. Swimming.
Sauna or massage?
Massage.
Stretching or foam rolling?
Stretching.
And summer or winter?
Summer. That's the easiest one.
Well, good thing you live in South Carolina.
No, it's so true. We're in the 30 days of cold, and we're all like dying over here, but we'll be okay. It's temporary.
The theme of the episode. It's temporary.
Yes, that can be our title.
Okay, Emilie, for people who don't remember or they didn't listen to the first episode, tell everyone where they can follow along, where they can come to your store, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm so Tastiest Fit is my personal Instagram. Tastiestfit_eats is the store Instagram. Our store is located on Millwood in Columbia. Feel free to Google it if you're ever passing through. And yeah, that's pretty much. And then tastiestfit.com is where I have all my recipes, and it's a website where I keep everything I do.
Oh, thank you. And I mean, I'm the biggest fan, so I would highly sing her praises. And
really sweet.
If you're not local, go on the website so you can make some of the recipes.
Absolutely. We even have people who pass through and like pack coolers. It's really cool how dedicated people are to getting their, Snickers back to where they live. So yeah, we are not above a cooler. If you want to come in and pack one, we do it all the time.
I love it. Thank you so much, Emilie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.